7,100,000,000 people, the most connected species in the history of this planet. We can reach anyone, anywhere, instantly. So why does everyone feel so completely alone? What if it was never supposed to work? In 1968, a behavioral researcher named John B. Calhoun built a paradise for mice. Unlimited food, unlimited water, no predators, no disease, perfect temperature, ample space to nest and breed. He gave them everything. Everything except a way out. The colony exploded in population, and then something strange happened. Something that had nothing to do with food or disease or predators. The social fabric collapsed. Roles disappeared. Violence, withdrawal, reproductive failure. And then there were these. Calhoun called them the beautiful ones. Physically perfect, socially dead. They ate, they groomed, they slept, they wanted nothing, they built nothing, they felt nothing. And the colony went extinct in paradise. A British anthropologist discovered that the human brain can only maintain about 150 genuine relationships. 150. Beyond that, we needed something else to hold us together. So we invented religion, nationalism, ideology, social media, and we called it civilization. Tonight, we're going to ask a question that nobody wants to answer. Are we watching a species reach its limit? Tonight, we look at these two scientific theories. This is the Cosmic Fold Live. The phone line is open at 928-288-2942. And as always, we welcome your comments in the chat. Welcome to the Fold.
Wow. That's disturbing.
Yes.
You know what jumped out
thoughts.
at me? I have this debate
Go ahead.
with my kids all the time. I'm going to sound like I'm 100. Okay. When I was their age, nobody had trouble getting pregnant. It was unusual if you had to consult help to get pregnant. And I'm not that old. It's not that long ago, But I've just sort of quietly observed that there seems to be a collapse in reproductive.
That is not just you. That is statistically true.
So I'm not crazy because they told
No,
me I'm crazy.
that is statistically true. Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting that he mentioned that as a function of the overpopulation.
Yeah. I mean, people have theories about it. A lot of the theories being that there's not enough economic, people are not reproducing because they're afraid to have kids. But I think it's probably something weirder like that, like you're talking about, where we are overpopulated.
Yeah.
And
the ones who want to have children are having trouble getting pregnant.
Right, I know. And that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, it could be environmental, but maybe it's related to this experiment where there's just too many of us and it's some kind of natural shutdown. Like, actually, the population is starting to decline because of it.
You can't argue that we have more alternatives now. There are things you can turn to. You can't argue that the public is more comfortable being frank about those sorts of conversations, right? People are more open talking about it. But still, it seems a lot to me. Just everybody. It seems everybody knows somebody can't get pregnant.
No, it is statistically
Right.
true. Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. Because this is kind of an idea. I mean, these two studies came up in bigger research that I'm just doing just to try to understand why we appear to be going insane as a species.
Yeah, right.
I'm serious.
We are. I was just reading a piece about this very thing today.
Well,
Actually.
the beautiful ones.
Hey,
you know,
Tiff.
It's so weird. Hey, Tiffany. Wow.
I thought of
And I did not know what
we
this was
had the
about.
beautiful ones, and they were beautiful, and they were healthy, and they did nothing and they thought nothing and they had trouble reproducing. And I thought, oh, the Kardashians. A lot of them had their children through surrogates.
Really interesting.
Kim did.
You know, and as we get to I have some issues with the study. I mean, first of all, there was no escape. But
Right.
But you look at, you know, and humans aren't the same as mice, but still, this whole Universe 25 thing is so interesting because of the parallels that it seems to have with what is going on in our society. And one of the things, it's like you have this increased violence that starts to take place. Women kind of abandoning their kids and just like forget it. And and then after that phase kind of comes this where people kind of like drop out. And I see that this is, in my observation, I don't know if it's statistically correct, but in my observation,
it seems to be true.
I see a lot of young men that who and these two studies kind of tie into this, where the young men seem to be lacking purpose or whatever, and so they're not going into higher education. A lot of them are just dropping out of jobs if they can even find them. They're just, their world has turned into a digital world rather than a functioning social world. And then what I see kind of going on, which could be wrong, is that a lot of the young women seem to be taking on that yoke even more than they used to. I mean, before it was just sort of, I want to be able to be equal. But now some of them are taking on even more to try to fill the shoes of these young men.
That's been happening for a while, I think.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while. Yeah.
Although I would argue with one thing, you know, despite what you hear in the news, the crime rate's gone down. It's not as low as it was, say, in the 40s or the 50s, but it's gone down dramatically. Yeah,
it has, and I think it's because of this lack of interest. But it's also, if you consider war a crime, it's going up.
Too lazy to commit a crime.
It's just more government sanctioned crime.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at like what's going on with ICE, you know, killing innocent people like this.
Yeah.
The torture that is going on in these detention places. It's just like government sanctioned violence. And so to me, that's crime, but it's taking on a different persona than crime.
It's a different outlet for the urge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then war crimes, I think.
Right, that's for sure. Yeah.
We've got a comment here. Hey, Joy, this isn't scientific. However, when I was listening to this woman years ago getting a healing on her infertility, the healer said her heart chakra was not allowing a little baby spirit in. Then it continues. She was too closed. It was just interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's part of it. Just energetically, people are so narcissistic and self-absorbed and so like in their own world and just kind of not really, totally not really in a place where they can give to someone else. So it's not happening. You know, I was thinking something interesting about the first thing I thought of when we're watching that thing about the mice and the beautiful ones was The Matrix. Did you ever see The Matrix?
Oh, I loved The Matrix. I loved it. Not Helen's cup of tea, but I loved it.
I did too.
I knew that. I thought about that years ago.
3 times.
Yeah, The Matrix. In The Matrix, one of the AI, iterations says to, I think Nemo or whatever. I don't remember. I think with the main character, he says, "Well, we made the first iteration of this was paradise." But you guys couldn't deal with it. And so we had to make it like this, you know, which is kind of repeating the way the world was, you know, before they took over, which I thought was really interesting that people couldn't function in paradise. They couldn't function. There wasn't enough stimulation or whatever.
Nobody asked me.
Well, you know, it kind of reminds me of the you've been reading the books by Robert Monroe, right?
Long time ago.
Okay, so did you read the part where he talks about he always goes back to like the source place and it's like there's a music on a loop and everything is perfect and
And you
everyone's
got bored with
singing,
it.
and it was boring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
decided to leave again.
Yeah.
I think there's you know, as nice as it is to be in a perfect situation, there is no pushback, there's no resistance, and without resistance, you can't really grow. You just kind of stay satiated, and that's kind of what happened to those mice, right? They just
Yep.
got bored, and they just kind of went like they kind of got depressed or something,
Became
and then they just,
nihilistic.
Yeah.
and then they just kind of went into their own corners and were like, "Fuck it, we're done." You know what I
You know,
mean?
when I was a little
Yeah.
kid, I used to think about, all the stories when you're being raised with a religion, all the stories you get. So I used to imagine heaven. And I've told you before, I thought, oh, heaven's got to be a mountain of chocolate ice cream that never melts, But I used to think, oh, God, you're going to die and you're going to go up there and sit on a cloud and play a harp. I don't want to. That is just boring. Heaven sounds stupid.
This religion that I grew up in, sort of, I mean, they were Catholic to start with, but then the cult. It's kind of similar to Mormonism. At least it's more interesting because you get to have a planet afterwards.
Oh.
And so it's
Interesting.
more interesting. You're not like
the Mormons
hanging out.
do that.
Yeah, the Mormons. That's what she's
And
saying
this
is
one-
similar to the Mormons.
And
yeah.
this one I grew up in too. You got to have planets. And
So what
so,
planet is yours?
You get your own planet
know,
to
but-
be like the king of, or what, or the queen of it, or what is it?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
And
rule
you
over
get to
your God.
And so like on the Sabbath, we weren't allowed to like do anything except read the Bible and have like family activities
God,
that were
so
like
mean.
Bible
Sounds fun.
based. But
Yeah.
well, my mother, I'll give this to her. She was kind of like, well, let's do creative stuff. And so we would do plays and games and
that's
stuff
good.
that were all centered around this. And so we would do like these, like, what would our planet be like? And so we would like design our own planets. And
Wow.
she had cute little round animals that didn't poop because she didn't want poop on the planet. And
Oh,
so,
that's funny.
and so she was like a god of this. He didn't need poop to decompose and grow stuff. So it was an interesting mental exercise that kind
Yeah,
of
it
took
sounds
away from
interesting.
this real boring kind of heaven. So
What was the name of your planet?
oh, I didn't name my planet at all. It was
You're in a
because I didn't
continent, too.
believe in any of that, but it was fun, to kind of think
You had a
about what it
cult
would be
too,
like.
Joy?
Yeah, your
Oh,
own
where she
planet.
created her
Wow.
own planet too. I wonder what
What
religion
religion
was
is
that, Joy?
this that you guys are in? What's the name of it? Are you
Yeah, I don't know.
not-
The one for me was Worldwide Church of God with Herbert
Worldwide
W.
Church of
Armstrong.
God? Wow.
Yeah, that one. If you watch Netflix's American Horror Stories,
Yeah.
there's one episode where that church is in there, so it kind of tells you
Wow.
a little bit about how fun it was.
Wow.
It was not fun, but oh,
Was that
you
the
put your
Heaven's
green
Gate
on. Now
cult?
you match Helen.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. What's cool?
Oh my God, peer pressure. The Heaven's Gate cult, Joy, was that the one you belonged to?
Oh, no. It's
No,
not really.
no, she wouldn't be here commenting if she
Well, they
did.
didn't all die. They weren't all there. They had people in other places doing other stuff.
It
A
was a psychic place, Church of Divine Man. Wow.
What about the
That's
Divine
interesting.
Woman?
Yeah. That sounds weird.
See how
I
it
mean,
is?
yeah.
Well, and
I
then
always
Well-
people would.
say, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say something snarky. I always say that show me the religion in which the women are in charge of the money. I might think about it.
Well, that would
Oh,
be
you could
matriarchy.
be
and that
Native
was before.
American.
Yeah,
You could be
matriarchy.
Native
That was
American.
before. That was a long
That's
time ago.
not an institutionalized.
Not now.
Yeah.
It used to be. It's been a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
give you that. Go back in time. Just go be like 100,000 years ago. 10,000.
I don't like to camp.
But you don't want. Yeah, but you could go to like. I think the Romans had indoor. Some places had indoor plumbing and stuff. Was a chauvinist. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, there's a show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
A gigantic show.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh. And then this Dunbar guy, the Dunbar 150. Now that one I knew about from, I don't know why I knew about it. I don't know, because it was after college when he came up with it. I don't know why I knew about it, but I hadn't heard about the mice thing with Universe 25, but for some reason, I get like weird messages will come, it was like my YouTube was just flooded with it in the algorithm.
Wow.
It was
That's
so
weird.
strange. So then
That
I
is
started
strange.
watching this and reading about it. It was like, wow, this is really interesting. But the Dunbar thing I knew about. And, these they're two very different studies and two different, the Universe 25 was 1968, and then Dunbar's came in the 1990s. About, we kind of cap out at 150 people. But I had been thinking about that we have, we have so much of this social media just inundated, and then people call them friends. And I hate the term followers. I don't like that.
Yeah,
term.
followers is not good. Yeah.
But that's what they're called. And, and everybody's trying to do that. And so if you're becoming isolated because life is too easy or you lack purpose, I think that's the bigger issue, is lacking of purpose. And then your world becomes this digitalized fake world. And you can sit and then you're dealing with thousands. No wonder we're going quietly insane. I just don't. And I was.
Do you think we're going quietly insane, or do you think we're just realizing people are more insane than we thought they were?
Well, I always knew people were insane.
I think it might be I think it might be a lot of the former, where I think people might be crazier than we realize, but we're just seeing it now because we're seeing all kinds of people.
I don't think there's anything quiet about it. I think it's
I think like before you might have only known in your monkey sphere, 150 people that you're friendly with. Maybe a few of them are kind of kooky, maybe 10 of them. But now, you're exposed to family. I know I have a lot more than that too, but if you're exposed to like millions and millions of people, and you see just how much of a percentage of the population is really unmoored, it's surprising, and it's kind of scary.
Yes.
I don't think it's surprising if you consider that so much mental unwellness, mental instability derives from early trauma and violence.
And nobody does anything about it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And people don't get help, and they don't know what to do. And, there's a lot of reasons, and it's not people's fault a lot of the time that they're, nice. Good that you put that up. 928-288-2942. Call in.
You got a future in that, Denise.
I love it. You do. I need to hire you as my announcer for these videos. That was good.
Yeah.
No, it's Denise.
So funny.
But part of it, though, the quiet insanity, how I'm looking at that is people maybe like us that are observing this, but at least we have a venue where we can talk about it, right? But there are other people out there that are observing all of this, and there's a helpless feeling because it's madness, what is happening, but you don't feel empowered to be able to do anything about it. And so you see all of these things going on around you, and then I think a lot of people just, and I don't blame them actually, just kind of check out. It's like, I'm not listening to this news. I am not, whatever, because particularly when it's so many lies. And
can't keep up with it. Yeah.
And so just checking out. And that's the quiet insanity that I'm talking about. It's like you just watching all of this unfold. And we should know better than do this stuff. And yet you can't stop it.
People are in despair,
Yeah, they are.
What I'm seeing is people are in despair, and they're like a raw nerve, and everything pushes them closer and closer to the edge. I see this every day, closer and closer. People are just getting wacko about unimportant things, right? And like then the anger builds.
What are they getting crazy about?
Well, I don't.
Like, give me an example. Like I told you
I texted you. Yes, earlier and told you some of the stupid stuff that
Okay, right. There's people getting upset about little things that happen.
unimportant things, yeah,
Right.
and hypersensitivity and then anger, and it's going to explode. That it's inevitable. The lid will come off. It can only roil like that.
Well, I think maybe people are getting hypersensitive because that monkey sphere thing we're just talking about, where you can only really hold 150 people in your kind of frame, And for some people, I think they have put celebrities or people they feel like they know, because maybe they don't have a big social active life, and those people that they see in public kind of fall into their like a personal, like, this is my friend, this is one of my people. And I think this is just a symptom of people's isolation. And there's a lot of people who are really isolated and who really don't have anyone to talk to, and who really they're really living their life kind of, that old, what is it, Thoreau, or quiet desperation, living lives of quiet desperation. And they don't have, it used to be like maybe 100 years ago, at least you had a family, a big family, you might not like them, but you're part of a tribe. Now people come from very small families, and sometimes they're only children, and sometimes they have no real connection, and families are fragmented. And some people are just very introverted, and it's hard for them to make friends or to, push themselves to be social. And then, so they live in their own imagination. You know what I'm saying? And I think that might be what you're coming up against to some degree.
I think that's right, Tiffany. I think it's right. I think the stress is just.
Yeah. So those listening on the podcast end of it, what Tiff says is, my husband is the sole provider in our family. I notice he has been freaking out over stupid stuff lately. I think it's economical, quite honestly. I think that has a lot to do with it. And it's kind of like this feeling that many people, I think, some of this AI, so I just don't know what to believe about it, because I see both sides of these presentations and read them and listen to them. So I have not made my mind up about like the huge job loss, because a part of me is just looking at it realistically. The resources aren't there to keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
That's kind of where I'm at. But the media constantly is throwing out these things. I see it all the time, like on YouTube or whatever. Oh, you've got until 2027 or 2028, and nobody knows what's going to be unleashed at that time. And it's like this constant, like, when is the shoe going to drop feeling? Right. And so it's keeping people in. Yeah. And so it's difficult to plan. It is difficult. So like for her husband, I think that's really hard. And men, that are responsible that way, they want to be able to be a provider, and just the sheer thought of losing that and then being displaced basically because something has taken over is very frustrating to them. And
well, it's scary. It's frightening to not know where you're going to turn.
Yeah. And so no wonder he's angry. And people are working very hard. I think that is a great part of this. And so you have like all of these things smushed together, like the economic part of it, kind of the paradise. I would, to an extent in the 80s and 90s, life was not that hard, as far as being able to get jobs. And maybe I'm speaking from a place of privilege, so I could be wrong on that. But in my world, it was nothing like what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why even bother getting an education, because we'll be displaced by AI. I mean, there was that sense that you could do something, or
whether there was a potential to have an expectation of a certain level of living. You were probably someday going to get a promotion at work, and you'd be able to buy a car and maybe go on a vacation. And if you played your cards right, maybe get into a little house of some sort. And now people can't even afford to rent an RV,
Yeah.
It's
Tiffany is saying it's not about losing the job, it's just everything's gone up much in price that it's become unaffordable, the affordability crisis. Yeah. A lot of people are struggling with that piece of it for sure. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, the way things are going, sadly,
Well,
climate
is
aware of that. Pardon?
I think that climate is playing into this too, because extreme heat constantly, I mean, that makes people angry and whatever, just being in the heat all the time.
Irritable.
But then you look at it, how are you going to grow stuff? I mean, this drought is awful. So the Department of Interior yesterday announced, okay, the plan is coming out next week on what we're going to do with the Colorado River and divide that. I can tell you already, you're going to have all the states suing each other. It's going to be just a freaking nightmare.
Wow.
All of that is expensive. And to run a farm these days, you know, there's kind of a joke where you have to have like 10 lawyers for every farmer because there's so many regulations and they're not the right kind of regulations like PFAS and forever chemicals. It's just like, you know, it's just, and a lot of them are frustrated too. But I guarantee you the cost of food, if this climate continues the way it is right now, it's just going to get exponential. So difficult.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. There's no other way to look at it. And that on top of like fuel costs going up, which means everything else goes up. And it's just like, why are we piling like a bunch of like wood on the fire? You know, already we have so many problems. Now you're going to start a massive war in the Middle East. And, you know, it's just like, and for what reason? We don't even know the reason. We don't even have a reason why it happens. Nobody can understand why this is happening, you know, and it's just making everyone's life that much harder. And they're also cutting Medicare and Medicaid and trying to get rid of all kinds of social programs and destroying the, you know, all the, like, no, they can't figure out where the exploding diarrhea problem came from. You know, where really, because you cut all the funding that traced, you know, those, you know, parasites. I mean, come on, you know.
Deborah was saying that Legionnaire's disease is breaking out on the East Coast. There's an outbreak of measles that's really bad right now. Ebola is out of control. I mean, they're playing that down pretty well, but it's not in a good, it's not going in the right direction. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just awful. Tiffany, wait until a moment when things are good.
I wonder if Tiffany, if your husband's having a Uranus square or opposition as well. It sounds like he might be having a little bit of a nervous breakdown, is what it sounds like.
If the best time to sit and talk about something is when everybody's already in a place of calm. So not right after he's vented, just
you don't want to get into it with them because, you know,
like maybe make his favorite dessert or something, you know, butter him up and only to just pour the oil on troubled waters and then address it. Yeah. Oh, did you hear what they're doing?
I agree with Joy. I'm sorry you're going through that, Tiff.
Yeah, I am sorry too.
That's very difficult.
It is really difficult. And you know what? Let's be honest. Things look dire. They do look dire, and you know, people are freaking out. He's not the only one, I'm sure. You know, people are freaking out everywhere.
I've heard that too.
I've heard that too. Yeah, the Taylor Farms. Yeah.
Raise your hands if you're shocked.
No, but the other problem with that is they didn't know for like weeks. You know, then they finally came out with it, and then they backed off it, like you said, because he's a big donor of Trump.
Made a little trip
but then Taylor Farms, Taylor Farms did come out and say, at least according to Dean Abadallah or whatever his name is, I kind of watched him this morning. They actually are criticizing the FDA, saying, you guys, you know, I mean, because of farms, how are they supposed to know if the water's tainted that they're putting on the lettuce unless you don't have people out there checking this stuff?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing that is so horrifying about it to me is that if you're using effluent with human
waste,
you know, human waste in that, you're using effluent to water the plants and that effluent isn't being treated right. I mean, just the whole thought of eating that is really nasty.
It's really disgusting. Yeah.
And that is how disease spreads around. It's
that really is awful. Exactly cholera. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're reading my mind. I was just thinking, next it'll be cholera.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They're laughing about the payoff. But I was surprised to hear that. I just need to read more. I just haven't had time to read, you know, all sides and facts or whatever. But I do trust Dean because he's a lawyer. And he said you need to read my Substack on it because even though they were a donor, even they are criticizing this. So You know,
Right,
if
because
you
it
think
is
about
it is ridiculous. I mean, the whole dismantling of all the things that keep everybody safe. What's the point of that? Is it to kill everybody? Because that's what it seems like. Can also
That
be
was
that one
what I
person that
first
use
thought
toilet
of. They don't
have
have
toilet
enough
facilities.
help.
That has happened with like
Yeah.
Listeria outbreaks and other outbreaks. Is that they're overworking field people and they're not allowing them to take bathroom breaks and they're just pooping in the fields and peeing and stuff, and it's like,
Remember the grapes of wrath?
oh yeah,
it's been a while. Yeah,
Well, it followed the migrant worker. I mean, it's fiction, but based
right.
on the
It's based on
OPC.
truth, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
based on truth.
Yeah.
The living conditions of the farm workers who
Right.
migratory farm workers.
Yeah, it's not good, and the way they treat Mexicans is probably even worse than the way the Okies were treated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stories that
I
I've
wanted
heard
to
are
show you guys
really-
something before I forgot. This is a comment to last week. This woman, Victoria, says, "Oh, wow, I used to see a static person when I was little, maybe 5 or 6 times by the time I was in kindergarten, often appearing in a doorway or peering around a corner. Haven't seen one since."
Interesting.
I just thought that was interesting because it does seem to be more children that see them.
Yeah.
And there's something about being in a doorway where that seems to be a common theme too. Doorways
Really?
and their children. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
Some sort of etheric, higher vibratory being that
Yeah.
is watching children.
Yeah,
It
maybe
doesn't
some kind of
sound
Could be.
doesn't sound bad. but-
no. A lot of kids see them. I agree.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay, so let me pull some of these. I printed out too, because in case I can't read it, but I just wanted to kind of go through some of the points of these studies because the parallels are so interesting of what's going on. So, they're finding this, just sociologists and people are finding that there's record loneliness despite record connectivity. The political systems are too large to feel human. Young people are disengaging, dropping out, giving up. And we feel like animals in a zoo that we built for ourselves.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is that guy that came up with and I wrote some notes down about him too. He just won an award just this week. So it's funny, he got the Cosmos Award. And with the Cosmos Award, it's the International Cosmos Prize. And it's for people who have made an outstanding contribution to the interdependence of life, the global environment, and the harmonious existence of humanity and nature. So he's coming from this, and he's so well renowned that I take his study very seriously about the 150.
Yeah, I've
So-
heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So his thing is it's his study to he looked at hunter-gatherer communities, Roman military, these Hutterite communities are kind of like the Amish, where they don't own private property. It's more of a socialistic thing. And even modern companies that have observed that this 150 seems to be the limit.
A magic
And-
number. Right.
Yeah, how did
Yeah.
they get that number? Because that actually seems like a lot.
It does. Well,
Well,
It
but
is a lot.
there's a different types within it. So, and I've always heard that phrase, you could count your best friends on one hand, the
Right.
really close, tight best friends. And
Mhm.
so he calls that the inner circle, that there's 5. Then 15 are the people that you call if there's a crisis or something, the ones that you trust enough to call in a crisis. And then that
Right.
moves out to 50 are like the good friends. They're like, you see them regularly, you trust them kind of, they're people part of your life, but they're not the ones that you would like pour your heart out to and tell them, what's going on in your life. And then 150 are just like acquaintances. So like in the business community, I think you easily meet at least 150, but they're just
Right.
acquaintances. And so your interaction with them. But when you get back into like this 500, 1,500, 5,000,
Right.
you might recognize the face, but that's
But you
about
don't know the
it.
name.
There's no,
Right.
yeah, there's
Right.
no connection. And so,
Right.
these are just the studies he used, the Roman military, these Neolithic villages, the Hutterites. I'm going to look at that a little bit more, and the Amish at some point, just to try to understand it. Even special forces, they limit the inner circle to a dozen. And this company called Gore-Tex, what they do, they manufacture like fabrics that repel water.
Yeah.
And so they capped like the buildings where people work at 150 because of this, and it seems to help. So I just thought, so what he says is that this, it just breaks once you go past that 150, and so there's an erosion of trust. Hierarchies and rules start to replace relationships. Accountability weakens, and politics, gossip, tribalism fill the void. And this supports my personal theory that our government as we know it cannot really be changed or reformed. It's going to move into more of a community thing from my perspective.
I agree with that.
It needs to. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually, when I was a kid, okay, sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to.
No, go ahead. I'm going to remove this so we could see.
I was just going to say, I spent that year like laying around on my back because I had a broken back. And one of the things I was thinking about was systems of government, like how all systems of government fail really because of their size. There's no accountability. There's no personal accountability.
Yes.
And how basically, the only way you could have a true democracy was if it was small. It was just a few, like 150 people who each know each other, have accountability. And then you can actually take account of everybody's opinion and their feelings, and they can all be represented and come to consensus. But you can't actually, a democracy like we have is not really a democracy. It's just ruled by majority. You know what I'm saying? Majority rule, or not even, because we have the electoral college. So it's not even that. And really, communism works really well in small groups like that too. Any system of government really works well when you, except maybe not authoritarianism, never works well, but like democracy or communism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, any of those kind of benign sort of iterations of government that are basically just systems of management of people work in small situations, but not in large ones at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the venue, I think, Joy, where it can change into caring for fellow human beings. Because right now it's just, one of the things that just has really stood out to me over the last 8-10 years is how so many people, maybe even psychic readings, they seem to glorify different people in the government and they're going to fix this and they're not going to fix this.
No,
they're not. The only way it's going to get fixed is now I can see higher, more tribunal things like these rivers. Okay, so you've got the Colorado River that goes through 7 states and into Mexico. And so you can't have one of the little communities sucking up everything so there's nothing left for the people downstream. So where there are shared resources, I can see where there's more of a democratic, bigger form of governance over that. But as far as day-to-day kind of the welfare of the people, I think it's very difficult with the system that we have right now.
But the other problem though that you get into though when you break down into little tribal units is then you have tribal warfare. You have people
over resources. Yeah.
So there's always something being human. We would have to be wired differently to make a big system of I think we would have to have an evolutionary leap where we could be kind of telepathic and able to just sort of tune into each other to be able to actually get to the place where we could have harmony in some level. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't really do it the way that we're kind of wired.
We're not going in the right direction. I'll tell you what, I agree with Joy there that we have to bring it down to a concern for individuals. But let me show you something. that ought to scare the living daylights out of you. And I'm not going to turn it on. I haven't watched it because I can't bring myself. But somebody sent this to me. This is experimental now at a coffee shop. This is not pretend. This is not.
Oh, it's an AI. Yeah.
It's a robot to take the place of a human being. This is the direction they want to go. Replacing human beings, not helping human beings. Replacing.
No, I know. Yeah. And killing us all off. Basically, he's like, get rid of the resource problem. Yeah.
You're going to force us all to eat salad.
Yeah.
Hey, my lettuce is looking pretty good out there, though. That'll be good. Grow my own.
Good.
I can trust that. Yeah.
I
good.
gave up trying to grow lettuce and spinach and all that endive, all that good stuff, because it takes a lot of space and you get a little bit of stuff, right? And when you actually pick the leaves, it's not that much. So I have this trough thing that I planted little seeds of little plants. What do they call it? Microgreens.
Oh, microgreens. Yeah.
Yeah. And, they grow for a while and you cut them when you feel like it. And then when they're used up, you grow another batch. And it's very similar to, when you sprout alfalfa sprouts,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you could do that in the house in the winter, but this is a way to do it outside. And so you're getting greens. You're going through them fairly rapidly because they're small, but it's a lot more rewarding than growing an acre of spinach and you get a half a cup after you've steamed it. So annoying.
Joy says, can we get something fair? Will it be whoever has the most money?
That's where we're at now.
Rhetorical question, right?
Yeah. Joy's asking you, where is that? Where's the robot?
I don't know because I didn't watch it. Let me look. Somebody sent it to me.
Was that the Musk experiment?
I don't know. Let me turn it on. It should say, it's at Starbucks.
Yeah, I figured it was Starbucks. It looks like a Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's at Starbucks. I don't. Okay, somebody sent it to me, and it's Facebook. I don't know, and I am not signed up with Facebook, so I can get the front image, but I can't get into it. I can't watch it. I can't make it work.
Okay, right, because you don't got Facebook.
I'm not a member of the club.
Right.
Well, LPK, you read my mind, so it works well because I've been looking at those green stock planters. And you've been growing lettuce and spinach well in it. I've actually been so I'm glad to hear it works well. So
I was looking at that green stock planter.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a thing they're doing in Holland right now. They're creating hedgerows outside schools and walkways, and they're growing vegetables and berries that children like, and the children can just go and pick them. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm working on something. I can't reveal too much about it, but it's just an incredible concept because they're going to have like a similar sort of thing. And so this development, when you buy your house, it already has like your big solar power thing is already set up. And then through all of the neighborhoods, there's like community vegetables that are growing.
Yeah, they're
all the way through. And like orchards and things like that. And the goal with it is to create a sustainable community and very well thought out. And so been working on that. And it's just so cool because you'll have that. It was like years ago, I helped Black Lives Matter on something, and I was just telling them, look, instead of complaining because, people they're just probably not going to give you money for food and all that. But look at this little lot I see on Google Earth. There's like nothing there except for a church is over there. See if y'all could get together and have a community garden.
Yeah.
And so it turned out that this church actually owned that lot. And so they said, sure, you can use that. And so the older women, they started this community garden. And the crime went way down because it was like this cool thing, and so everybody was there. It was that same community thing again. And then they were growing things. Yes. And so instead of being in one of these food deserts where all you have is junk food, all of a sudden they could just put it out and it was for free, like free cucumbers and all this stuff that they were growing. And it was wonderful. I haven't looked at it lately on Google Maps, but for a while it was really cool. Like every summer I'd go look at it and it was like all green there where it used to be like dead. It was really, really cool.
Well, you know what?
And I think those are the solutions.
Yeah,
I agree.
Going back to the time before, at the beginning of the feudal system, when the nobility closed off the commons, and in the enclosure acts where they closed off all the pasture land and disallowed ordinary people the privilege of going into the woods and hunting or gathering mushrooms or berries or nuts or whatever. This is reversing that. It's making things accessible to everybody. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That idea that you're that thing you're talking about, there are several communities like that throughout the US. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Where people, live in like a farming kind of, they kind of tend to the community gardens and they take the and I mean, that's the way of the future. I think that's the way
they still do it in England. They call it allotments.
Oh, that's cool.
What's cool about this though is like probably 30 years ago, I had a dream where I actually saw this in the dream. And it was like, wow, that's shocking because this is like a dirt poor little area that, and now when I'm looking at these plans and helping, with the paperwork and all of that, it's like, holy smokes, this is just like what I dreamed about. They are going to bring life to this high desert and it's going to be wonderful.
That's great. Yeah, that is
and
great.
So,
awesome.
and so I really do believe that these like community sort of things are going to be the way to go. It's just,
it's the only way we're going to be able to survive climate change, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
We can survive it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So Joy would like to live in a place like that. Okay, so I live in Southwest Idaho, and July weather is 94 to 105. Oh,
wow.
I never have been able to grow lettuce well. Also works well for my strawberries. They are on the upper levels where chickens can't reach yet. Chickens like the strawberries.
Try the microgreens. It's not a big investment. You can grow them anywhere. You can grow them in water, just like alfalfa sprouts.
Yeah.
That's just sprouting. And I mean, the peas, I planted them and they popped up. And I said to my husband, there's nothing micro about that. That's just a pea plant. But you cut it and eat it early. I got fooled.
That's funny.
They charge more if they call them microgreen on the package.
Yes. So it gives people, it helps people care for themselves and others. That's true, Joy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly true. So there's hope for us, but I just don't think the way we're doing it is going to work.
No, it's not the right direction.
Have you guys been picking up? Okay, this is just maybe I'm like out there and paranoid. But I've been having a feeling that we're going to be seeing some major like power problems soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is just like the West with what's going on, or if this is something that you guys are
like an attack
about.
Yeah.
Or just climate and fire, just power.
Yeah, and there's not there could be a lot of reasons for power stuff. I think that's true. I think I've already seen some of it. It seems like it's already kind of like
goes
grounding
hand in hand with white Christian nationalism. It's the same thing. So Doug Wilson, Pete Hegseth, that whole tribe of lunatics. The patriarchal, authoritarian Christian theocrats are almost entirely white nationalists.
Wait, how is that related to the power grid thing? I don't understand.
Oh, I thought you said white power.
No. We're talking about the power grid.
Electrical power.
Electrical power.
That's not what I heard, which means that needed to be talked about too.
Oh yes, and it comes up.
Waiting for the white.
Well, I was just writing about that too on my Substack. Yeah, just the genesis of that.
Oh,
yeah,
you were okay.
Perfect
awareness. Perfect awareness.
I agree.
Kindergarten where I used to live. Also, sorry.
Beehives. Yes.
That's great. That's really good combo.
That's very smart.
Well, sometimes paranoia is the appropriate reaction to a situation.
Well,
it's just appropriate,
Well,
There's
like they
nothing-
said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
Well, exactly.
I was afraid. I was trying to remember it. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, and what, Helen, what one of the things you were mentioning about like this worship of like, who is it? Taylor Swift and some of these
Oh
celebrities.
God,
and
you said her
all
name.
that kind
now
of-
we're never gonna get to the end of it.
but you know, it's talking about how this to fill the void, and so you get into this like gossip, and people are just like so into that kind of stuff, and it's like
Yeah, they are.
filling this void because they don't have a sense of community or purpose. So
Right. That's right.
I think it's an offshoot of that.
Well,
That's
it's
what
like
I'm
it's
saying.
like athletic stuff too. My husband has this
Oh,
theory.
yeah.
and I
Yeah,
think
no,
he's
that's true.
right.
It's all the
It's a
same.
Substitute for war.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and also tribalism, and also tribalism
Yep.
being part of something. Yeah.
So this is kind of what happened with the mouse thing. So
Okay.
this was in 1968, and he had tried building this utopia for a while. He had even like built like a 1/4-acre one on a neighbor's farm, but by
Wow.
the time he got to Universe 25, that was where the conditions were like ripe for his experiment. And
Wow.
so they started it off with 8 mice, and then he wanted to see what would happen as it built this. So this is kind of the trajectory in the mouse population of what
Every
happened.
55 days. Wow.
Yeah, the mouse population doubled, and they
Wow.
thrived. They were doing really well until they hit like 315 days, almost a year. And then there were
Wow.
600 mice, and then you started to see some stress.
Hmm.
And so with the
Hyperaggressive.
stress, you start, hyperaggression in males. Females abandoned their young. They became aggressive too. Sexual
Hmm.
behavior became random, non-reproductive. Social
Hmm.
roles broke down entirely. And they just started having chaos, injury, death. And what this term is called, there's a term for that, and it's called the behavioral sink. And so if you see that term, that's where it came
Sounds like the
from. It's the study.
1970s.
Yes, yes. And that's why the parallel is so interesting here.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
then when they kind of get to this apex of, and then it starts going downhill, that's where you started to see the beautiful ones. And so they just didn't care anymore. It was like, and in the controlled experiment, like they still had food, there were no predators, life is good, supposedly. But then after this violent like thing that was going on, then they just went into this place of, I don't care. And so they don't fight anymore. They
the rich.
never coupled up. They didn't,
Sounds like what's happening
didn't,
now,
like-
actually, among
Yes.
humans.
Yes. They
Yes.
didn't have like mouse marriage anymore.
Hmm.
They groomed, they looked pretty. They were always
Mouse
kept clean.
marriage.
Yes. They ate, they slept, they were perfectly well maintained. They looked healthy, but they were socially dead.
Oh, there
So
you
that's
go.
kind of what happened. Those were the beautiful ones.
Hmm.
And so once it hit that, it peaked at a 2,200 population. So we started with 8, and it peaks at 2,200. Then all of a sudden, then once you get to the point of the beautiful ones, then they start dying off. They don't really enjoy their utopia anymore, and then the last mouse died, and Universe 25 went silent.
Well,
And
now,
so
a
he
question-
tried that
can I
with
ask-
rats. Yeah, go ahead.
But can I ask you a question? So the beautiful ones became basically socially totally disengaged. So did the population become almost entirely beautiful ones that just didn't interact with one another?
And then just started dying off.
And then
So
just
died off
didn't.
of
They
naturally.
died off because they weren't mating with one another. Is that
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
Wow. That
And
sounds
they
like what's
just say-
happening now.
exactly. That's why I find this study. Now, I've got some reasons where I'm not, like I would critique it. Number one, we're not mice.
Well, and also
number-
we're not in paradise either. But
Right. And this is a controlled environment. It's a controlled environment where they couldn't escape. But I think this is where it meshes with some things with the economic issues that people were bringing up. It's like, is this a self-created zoo that we're in? And because of the economy, you can't afford to get out. And you're seeing these things where they're like banning RVs on public lands and
Yeah.
banning
Right.
sleeping in
Right.
your car So what the hell are people supposed to do?
Every
You know?
avenue of coping is being whittled away.
Right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
And so in some ways, to me, that's like the same as this controlled experiment where there's no way out.
Right.
The
Well, I think
parallels,
that's true. People are trapped.
fascinating. Yes.
But you're right. I think the economic conditions already have set people up to be contained. And
Yes.
so, and they do have enough food. They do have
Yes.
enough things. So in a way, it's very similar. But there's just no escape from it. There's nothing
The
more.
parallels are chilling to me. It's very
Yeah, they are.
interesting.
And they are.
And so,
chilling.
and these are some of the questions. Are we in universe 25? The record loneliness, U.S. Surgeon General calls it an epidemic. And I think that really got like spiraled out of control during COVID with those lockdowns, especially for younger people. It just completely changed their whole socialization. And
yeah, that's true. Very true.
that was very difficult for the young people. The declining birth rates, that's, and that's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how you say this, hikikomori, and is that how you say it in Japan? That's where these young people are just like completely, and I've seen it's happening a lot in the Asian countries really spreading, where they just like check out and they just sleep all day and order food brought in. A lot of the Asians, and it's both men and women that are doing this, but it kind of started in Japan and it's like blossoming out all over the place. And then the other thing they call it is NEETs, and that one is more like how the English describe what's going on with their young people, is that it's like that it's an acronym, but basically no education, no employment, and no, I don't remember what the other thing, the other E is, but basically the same thing, a complete withdrawal. They're just shutting down. And I've got friends, one of them, she was telling me about her grandson. Let me take this off. The kid is brilliant. And he kind of got caught up in the MAGA thing. He used to be just so sweet. And but he had a good job, good vehicles, like the sweetest kid. He was always there helping grandma, like if she needed yard work done or whatever. And he too has gone into this complete withdrawal thing. And so he quit his job, quit everything. And all he does now is just hang out in his room at his computer, buying and selling guns. That's kind of like,
that's kind of dark.
And he just, and I think where he really went off the edge was his girlfriend broke up with him, and he's young, like 19, 20, but I have seen this in that same age thing, 19, 20, 21,
right?
Especially with young guys, they just like check out. And then they hang out in their bedrooms, living with mom and dad still, and they're just on the computer 24/7. And a lot of times it like turns into this thing where they sleep during the day and then they're up all night on the computer. So their whole like biological balance is flipped somehow.
Rhythm,
yeah.
And it's not just, and then I know the parents sometimes like try to blame themselves, but I don't think it's a parental problem. I think this is more of the canary in the coal mine kind of thing about what is happening with our society.
I think you're right.
I don't blame these young guys or girls at all. And the fact that it's happening globally, together with this population going down, there is a part of me that really wonders if we have just kind of biologically just can't sustain what we're doing. We weren't
I think that's
designed
true.
for this.
No, I agree. I think that's very true.
Well, I hear it from a little bit older. So like 30 to 35, 28 to 40, in that general age group. And there's a little bit of variety. Some people manage to grasp some of the old expectations, like they have a job they're not terrified of losing, or they do get into a relationship, whatever. But the majority of them, if you look at extended connections of the same age group, they can't afford to maintain the car they have. They can't afford to live in the apartment that they have. They have absolute despair about ever buying into the American dream, which was
Right.
anyway. But they're not going to be able to buy a house. They're not even going to be able to continue to pay for where they're living right now, which is subpar, right? They're certainly never going to be able to have children. They all say that. I would like to have kids, but how do you afford to have children? That's
I think
crazy.
that's you're talking about the millennials, but this happened in my opinion. Like I relate to that as like a Gen Xer. This started really a long time ago. It's just got the culminating effect of it has only gotten worse. It's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It started a long time ago, but now it's just escalating to this point where, it's and also there's a lot of millennials. I mean, it's a huge generation.
Yeah, well, so starting younger and it's going older. It's spreading across the age, cycles, whatever you want to call them, the categories.
Yeah. So catch up on a couple comments here. I'm an urban gardener, kind of back to I have a container garden on my patio and grow food all year round.
That's great.
Starting my second. That is cool, Dorinda.
That is great. That's great.
I'm going to be setting some of that up this winter too. I've got my rain barrels out there so I could collect rain because
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we do. We collect water, rainwater, but we can't.
Okay, when they're environmental set.
Really
that's interesting.
Because of the weather.
Yeah.
Many primate species go gay when there is environmental stress. That's interesting. Makes sense.
Well, I've always thought that it is a kind of like an evolutionary response to environmental stress. I've always thought that, and
there is always a 10% population. I mean, across all animal species that is gay. Yeah, this is the real thing going on.
This is a real thing going on. Kind of talking about the people checking out. Something has to give, change, or explode. We cannot keep this up much longer, says Joy. That's correct.
I agree. I think that's being taken care of for us by the psychopaths that we have.
Yes.
In power across the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
So other Universe 25 correlations that come up. Okay, the declining birth rates, withdrawal. Okay, we talked about that, and hyperstimulation, replacing genuine connection. And that's what the computer, the video games, AI, I think, is an extent of that. And some of it just like, I'm sure the World Cup was really cool and maybe you guys watch, but I just cannot get into sports. It just doesn't. You
know what? That was literally my number one thing. If I would not date or marry a man who was into sports. That's how much I hate sports.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was like,
I like playing them if it's like a fun,
Yeah, that's different.
I just
playing it is fine, but watching it, no. No, thank you. I don't really play them myself, but I don't mind if you're playing a game, like you're throwing balls or, you're playing a little,
Yeah, it's fun.
Whatever.
It's a connection.
Yeah,
exactly.
Don't marry, don't play, don't engage for any reason. I'm just not interested.
I'm not interested in sports either, but if somebody has a game and like you're playing croquet on the lawn, I would probably join you if I was hanging out with having tea when my friends are doing that. I wouldn't necessarily care, but I would, I would go along with it. Or, or like if somebody is throwing a basketball, okay, I'll throw a basketball. I don't seek it out, Yeah.
So I just finished doing this book about liberal education. And one of the things, it was written in 2015. One of the things that he was talking about was asking the younger generation at the time, so early college students at the time, what are your major concerns? And it was things like, affording to pay for college and finding a good job. But now I went down the rabbit hole outside the book because I felt like it was out of date and found out what are the main concerns of college students now. Number one around the world, mental health and loneliness.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen that. Yes. That's
anxiety,
quite a statement.
Depression, isolation.
It is. Wow. Well, it's not good.
That's not good at all.
Well, and so kind of the synopsis of Universe 25 is, we haven't run out of resources. We've run out of meaning. And in a way, we still have the resources. It's just that people are not using them responsibly, and it's like this
That's right.
top percent is in charge of all of it. If it was distributed and managed wisely, resources, I don't think would be an issue.
Yeah, it's not the real problem.
Hey,
Right.
Teresa, greetings.
Let me remind you. Just let me remind everybody: $50 million for a wedding, and 40% of American children in certain areas of the country are food insecure. 40%, but $50 million for a wedding. I'm sorry, I can't get over it. I just can't believe it.
Yep.
That's how the world is now.
Well, this is kind of,
really
we
ridiculous.
already kind of went into the critiques a little bit. You know, some of them, especially about Universe 25, it might be more of a density problem that I don't know. I think it's apparent. We've already discussed the critiques. So the question becomes, what fills the void after this 150? You know, that you kind of, so to try to deal and compensate with having to deal with more than 150 people, you start to see tribalism, and that tribalism has an infrastructure. And what happens
see that now.
It's like,
yes.
So the infrastructure, what is, you have like us versus them, the shared enemy kind of thing. Then that becomes amplified with social media.
Right.
And so algorithms turn into outrage, kind of like our politics. And you also will see things like extremist religion, where the tribe demands total submission. So it's either extremist religion or extremist authoritarian government, one of the two, where you need
both.
Submission to control this giant tribe that you weren't designed to live in.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
Okay, let's see.
Well, the more that human beings feel that the other is other, the primitive brain kicks in, and we begin to see the different and the other as enemy, and the enemy as evil.
That's
and then you've set up that dichotomy of God and Satan. There you go.
Yeah, right. Again, to the Christian.
So remember the behavioral sink we mentioned before. That kind of happens before the beautiful ones appear. And so extremism, like in humankind, the human population, is behavioral sink. And so that, you know, that could be these rigid religions, these rigid political extremist, you know, any kind of thing that is extreme is a sign of our behavioral sink. And then your beautiful ones that come out are like, if you're looking at it from a religious context, they're very passive. They follow all the rules, whether it's religious rule or government rule, and they don't think about it. They, you know, they're groomed. Their outward appearance is fine.
They don't care.
Like they're
like narcissists.
Right. And so they're
dead inside.
Yes.
Right.
And they don't question what is going on around us. And that's, you know, why you guys are so interesting for me and the people that join the audience here. I mean, we question it. But there's a lot of people that just accept that, and I'll just keep following the rules.
I can't believe this is exactly like what I was writing about all day long, in a different take from different perspective.
Deborah's tuned in.
Exactly. What I mean, I don't know why. I just started writing it today, and it just kind of came to me. But it seems like it's the same track, though, from a different angle.
Yes, I feel it's a
weird.
Message. I feel like it's a message that was meant to be heard, because when I get these things going through, like every time I'd like look at YouTube, it was like the Universe 25, and I'm like, what the hell is, you know, at first I thought it was just some weird like sci-fi thing, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll watch it later since it keeps popping up, until it was just kind of like, you know, getting banged on the head. You got to watch, because it was constant.
Yeah.
So I kind of went off into this like obsession about watching anything I could find. So,
well, can I say something and see what you guys think about this? So extremist religion is a symptom of behavioral sink, or a form of behavioral sink. I have a theory that toxic capitalism and the economic collapse is a form of behavioral sink. They don't care what happens to us. They simply do not care. And
Sure.
Well,
at
it's
the
a
same
form of
time-
extremism. That too is
It
a form of
yeah,
extremism.
you're right. But at the same time, many of the victims are clinging to excuses, making excuses for these wealthy people. But they're really good. But they really try. But they give.
Because they're in their monkey sphere, because they
Yes.
identify with them. So for some weird, whatever reason, they're missing actual real connections with other humans. They don't have that. And these are cutout stand-ins for people that should be real connections.
Real
and
connections. Yeah.
so they'd have a tribal association with those people, even though those people are not in their tribe. Not only are they not in their tribe, but they could give a fuck less about if they live or die. And that's problematic.
Well, about wealthy people and all of their performative philanthropy, and I'm not saying this because I desperately want to be them any more than I would critique those who engaged with Epstein, because I wish I could have done it too.
Capitalism.
No, that's not at all. Late stage capitalism, right? Yeah, type 4 capitalism. What I find particularly puzzling is people making excuses for them and identifying with them. It reminds me of that biblical story, the widow's mite, where the rich guy was bragging about what he was giving. And Jesus says, shut up. Look at her over there. She had nothing. She had this one mite. It was a part of a coin. And she gave the last thing she had. Who do you think gave something more meaningful? You, who will never feel what you gave. It will make no impact on your life. Or this woman who gave the last of what she had to somebody who had nothing.
Yes.
I always think of that story. I think that's a beautiful story. If you're giving 1.8% of your billions and billions of dollars, does it count?
Well, I mean, I guess, but not, it doesn't count the same way as if you're poor and you have $5 in your pocket and you give it to someone else,
Yeah, like you did that time with something. It's, and when you think about it, though, when you really think about it, money, how real is money?
Yeah, it's just a construct.
It's
just a construct.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, you could probably burn it if it's really cold outside and you need a warrant. But other than that, what are you going to do?
Well, it creates an opportunity to disengage from the suffering of other people. That's what it does. It allows you to
abstract.
To
it makes it an abstraction. It creates an abstraction.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to feel how much greed you are really ensconcing yourself in by taking all the resources.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so according to these studies, so how would you design for the 150 kind of thing? So his proposals basically intentional communities at human scale. So kind of like that same thing, even like the company, our buildings, 150 max, no more. And you talk about biblical stuff. The book of Isaiah, I think, talks about how, if people are all stacked on top of one another. I was watching and researching this stuff last night. Some of these places in China that are just absolutely horrible.
That's
like
scary.
The size of a coffin is their apartment, and then they're just stacked so high. We are not designed for that.
No, it's inhumane.
So then the other, like in the discussions of Dunbar's findings, you need local governments for local issues. It's the only way it's going to work. You can't have some people in Washington, D.C. trying to decide, how you're supposed to run, handle your stock pond in the desert of Arizona. They have no idea what they're talking about.
And they don't know what it is even, or where it is probably.
Yeah. Then the other hypotheses that came, if you're designing for this, is tech that connects, not performs.
Yes, that's
so. I really believe that was the intent. I think, like even with Al Gore and people like that, when the internet came out, this is a way to connect and discuss ideas and learn. But look at how it just got filled with just garbage and slop.
Yeah, it became commercialized. It became capitalist, a capitalist playground instead of its original intention. Yeah,
exactly. But as a way to do commerce and trade and learn and communicate, I think it could be just wonderful. But I just don't know that most humans have the the maturity to do that. I'm just really beginning to wonder about this.
It seems like it would be best. It would be better if the internet was like a library of information instead of like, you know, where you just put your information in there. That's kind of how I treat the internet myself. It's just like, this is just a library and I'm going to use it and deposit my information and people can see it or read it. And then they can put their information. I can engage with it, but not as like a way to have friendships or connection. Because I mean, while I've met a lot of cool people through the internet, like you guys, and I've met people who get readings from me and I really like them. That is the exception, not the rule. Like, you know, you're on Twitter getting in fights with people. You don't even know who they are. You know what I'm saying?
The words out of my mouth. People are having these gigantic arguments with strangers.
They don't even know who that person is. If that person may not even be real, it could be a bot you're getting into an argument with, you know? So it's that is pointless. That the social media aspect is horrible. I think that should just be totally destroyed and people should just deposit their information for each other and learn from each other and make connections through legitimate.
And YouTube spent making stupid dances on TikTok. You could actually take a dance class or choreograph something yourself for a group of people that's not going to be watched by a bunch of droolers.
Well, YouTube, I have to say, for me, is so.
I like YouTube.
Like, gosh, if I don't know how to fix something, I can use.
No, YouTube is like that. YouTube is like a video library, which is why I like it. It's not really social media in the same sense. I mean, people can comment, but
I mean,
but I'm talking, you know, I like Substack too because Substack is a place to deposit information. People can interact with your ideas.
Yes.
But it's siloed so that you don't get random douchebags just fighting with people for no reason. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's where social media goes really bad, is this whole monkey sphere thing where people get tribal and start having little intellectual like monkey fights. And it's like, why are you guys doing that? It's just you need attention.
And, you know, it's kind of like when Twitter came out and all of that. Remember, it used to be limited to X amount of words or whatever. It's almost to me like thoughts, sort of too. People don't think deeply and about the consequences. So we'll limit it to 150 words. And, you know, between that and talk rate, I really started to see a decline with talk radio.
Talk radio is the beginning. Because and Fox News too.
Yes. Yeah. And that came kind of after, you know, the talk radio.
Talk radio.
I used to love talk radio, like, you know, at night and things like that. It was entertaining. You had, but then when it became the political thing and that kind of introduced this extremism and tribalism.
This
I'm going to show some comments right after. Let me get these other points here. The other points that they wanted, and part of why I find this interesting is, Denise, I know you've been talking about what are ideas, how can we help, you know, the government of the future, and I think these play right into that very well, you know, based on science and his research. The other thing is to rebuild third places that are neither home nor work, and those are your things like city parks, public lands, and
places people don't go.
Yes. And this administration right now is like trashing our public lands and a lot of sacred sites like Shaka Canyon, all that kind of stuff. They just want to start drill and that and tearing it up. The Tohono O'odham on the southern boundary, they just like ripped up this.
Don't they just want to destroy other people's sacred land though? I mean, because they're not really drilling in places where there's already stuff like, you know, I've heard like in Texas, they've stopped doing a lot of new drilling, and like other places where traditionally that's where we drill, but no, they just want to go into other people's sacred spaces and destroy their land because they're racist and it's more tribalism
and it's cruelty. I mean, look at
it's cruelty.
That's performative.
Well, and then
sadism.
like
exactly
public lands too. How much is being like shut off to people, and then like these popular ones. I mean, I looked at some of this stuff like, you know, where were people going during the 4th of July? And it was just horrifying. You know, talk about rats in a experiment. You know,
where were they going?
I think it was Moab, Utah or somewhere, you know, like some of the more popular, like public lands that you could go hiking and stuff. I mean, it was just wall to wall people.
Wow.
This was no escape into nature whatsoever. It was like everybody.
Wow.
And so like in Arizona, all the people headed to the northern country, like where I live. I mean, it was just wall to wall cars of everybody trying to get out of the city. Well, they're not getting out of the city. They're just moving from one place to the next.
Wow. Wow.
And there was something else I was watching. But then like people that are boondocking or whatever, truly getting out into the public lands, they're trying to ban all of that now.
Yeah, they're closing them off.
That's messed up.
So it's just basically you're contained in this one place, and it's just tons of people. So they're not getting out in nature to get that balance. I think that,
Right.
you know, but these third places I think are extremely important that he's talking about, because it helps people's sanity.
That
And
you
so
don't
finally,
have to pay for, because now you have to pay for everything. If you want
That's
to take a
true.
bike, you have to pay. If you want to park your car, you have to pay.
That's
If you
right.
camp, you have to pay.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos of those people living in their RVs that have to pay $60, $70, $80 a night.
That's
just to
horrible.
park their RVs overnight.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
and then you have the super wealthy just buy like thousands of acres of land that's private, fence it off, and put guards around it. You know, it just. You know,
French Revolution, baby.
Yeah, right.
So Dunbar's final point, if you're designing for 150, is to choose depth over reach. And I think that's very, you know, like conversations like this, I think it goes into depth. I don't care about how many views, but, you know, the depth over reach is so important. Everybody now, it's like, how many followers do I have? How many views do I, you know, but if you're going for depth, it means a hell of a lot more, I think.
Well, I don't know what you were talking about, Denise, with Deborah, about maybe like a new constitution. There needs to be some sort of structural set of
That's what,
like no ideologies, no institutionalized religions. Do believe whatever you want to believe, but it's not going to become a part of the fabric of society, you know. So taking a neutral stance on anything like that, anything ideological, dead internet theory becoming the internet sucks.
Right now, though. That's the irony.
Well, yeah, because how stupid would it be to not take advantage of it while we can? But you know, we're not playing mindless war games.
No, but
solve problems.
No, I think the reality, though, like, okay, so if we were going to reconfigure the world into a good balanced place, right? I mean, we're going from this overarching kind of behemoth of a government that doesn't work, and it's probably going to collapse. You know, at some point, and not too far in the distant future, I think it will collapse on itself. And the thing is, before it does collapse on itself, if we don't get out of the mindset, which I am worried people are going to have a problem with, which is that somebody's going to come and save everybody, and that we're all going to just rally around this new person, and this whole new, and the institutions are going to be reset or whatever. We don't have a sense of what we really, so the mind abhors a vacuum, right? If there's a vacuum, then you leave open all kinds of like problems for, you know, bad guys or people who are exploitative to come in and try to take advantage of this fantasy that people seem to cling to, that somehow we're going to get somebody else to deal with it for us.
The ETs won't let us destroy ourselves.
Yeah, the ETs won't let us destroy ourselves. Jesus is going to come back. We're going to 5D. You know, you name your whatever. I mean, or Kamala still on the sidelines with Biden working on stuff. I mean, whatever, whatever, pick your poison. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, this is time to grow up. If we're going to make it work, we have to grow up. And it's interesting when you're talking about that idea. There was like some, when I was doing a bunch of research into UFO kind of stuff, working in MUFON, one of the things that came up in a lot of what's the culture like for these aliens, right? Like, what did they tell people about their culture? It was that they came from planets that were very much structured like that. They were agrarian.
Yes.
Where they were each, and this sounds completely cuckoo, but it's interesting that they were agrarian. They had like an overarching kind of ideological framework.
Yeah.
that they kind of worked together. They were telepathic, so that helps. But and they lived in concert with nature. They didn't try to control nature. They kind of lived in sort of an agrarian kind of on their home planet. But that is kind of, if we're, maybe it's a projection of our own, what's best for us too.
You
But
know what's interesting though, that you say that, because remember the cat, like the cat aliens
yes,
that I saw?
yeah, this serious.
So I
Yeah.
found some stuff about them, and very much that.
So did I.
Very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
about that. That's what you were just describing. And
Yeah.
and it makes sense. And I think
It does
even
make sense.
in the cat stuff I was reading or watching, I don't remember. Sometimes when I read, it's like watching something, but they kept on purpose their communities smaller to avoid
Right.
this problem. I mean,
Right.
it kind of came up. It seems to be a biological problem. Maybe not
I think it
necessarily
is.
just human. It's just the
Well,
flesh.
I mean, yeah, you look at animals are like that too. There's pack animals. I mean, they don't, the cats have so many, they don't have 1,000,000 cats living in a colony. There's a set amount of cats. Then they'll go and start another colony. Same with bees. I mean, there's only so much that your neurological system probably can handle. You know what I'm saying? And at least here on Earth, I don't know, maybe there might be other things. But I think if we were going to make a perfect world where we could live in balance with nature by being in rural kind of small 150 size communities where we live and work and we can be in balance with nature and get our food and do it, and we have some kind of communication or overarching, set of like beliefs, like or tenets, like we respect one another, we communicate when we go into other people's communities, we have good intentions or whatever, some kind of like tenet of interaction.
Do no harm.
Do no harm. Right. Some kind of, broad sweeping kind of intellectual framework where everyone agrees to that. Then you could have, that could be the way to get the world back in balance. And I feel like that's the only way that we are ever going to evolve to get to the place where we could actually go and explore space and kind of learn to be in harmony with each other and actually get our shit together, because the way things are going, this is totally maybe you could say the democracy kind of worked not very well, maybe for a lot of people in the beginning of this democracy, when there was probably, maybe 100,000 people in this country.
Exactly.
Now there's like 350 million or some 330 million people,
But it was predicated on such.
But it was about totally. It was. Yeah, it was totally slavery. It was no, I agree. It wasn't great either. But theoretically, it seemed like it was maybe more doable back then. Like it was stolen from the Native Americans who were doing that.
Exactly.
But they did it because they were tribal, though. It worked in that kind of way because they were accountable to each other, right? And they had this overarching kind of theoretical framework for interacting with the other bigger parts of their tribe, their nation. That's how it has to work. And they didn't steal the whole idea. They kind of stole part of it and just made themselves kings. You know what I mean? In that, kings of the majority.
It wasn't a true equality. It
wasn't a true democracy. It was a republic. It was a republic.
But even that wasn't an equality.
No, I agree.
A power hierarchy.
Yeah, well, there was always a hierarchy, right? Yeah. And, and at this point, though, with 8 billion people. I mean, I think about this sometimes. I'm like, I was born in 1967. And I remember hearing there was like 2 billion people on the planet back then. There's literally 8 billion people. Yeah. That means the population has quadrupled in my lifetime. And people were freaking out about it back in the 60s. Like, oh, overpopulation, man. It's like, well, we're way past overpopulation now.
I think they know that. I think they know that we're at the point of an existential collapse.
I think so too. Yes.
And they're making hay while the sun shines. Let's see how I can benefit myself while I still have the opportunity. I think that's
exactly. Yes, the real even originally they set it up so that they would have final say with the electoral college. The electoral college was sort of well, we can't really trust the majority. I mean, they might be
Yeah.
fools. You know what I'm saying?
They might want something.
They might want something that we think is dumb.
I think
Yeah.
they should make it matriarchal because women don't seem to have that genetic drive to absolutely dominate everybody around them. You notice we're not looking for.
You haven't met my mother.
testosterone shots.
You haven't met my mom.
I was going to say there are some who have that drive.
Yeah.
That's true. But proportionally, percentage-wise.
Yeah, there's not as many. It's true. I would
So
question the
Tiff
population
says-
number. Put it out there.
Go ahead.
Oh, put it out there. There's some questions about it. I don't know particulars, but there are questions about the big number. I am not aware of that. Does
When
anybody
I
know?
close
that?
my eyes, I envision we're about 2 people away from us pulling ourselves right off of our orbit and just go spinning off
Into space.
cosmos. The weight of it all.
I'll look it up.
Off we
I think
go.
she's basically saying, yeah, how many are there? I question that, but I know.
Is it
it's
8
big.
billion? Is it 7.5? Who knows? You know.
Yeah, it's like what
It
difference
is
does it make,
8.3 billion people as of mid 2026.
That's what I
Oh,
thought.
it's
8.3
more.
billion.
Oh,
It's
Right.
more.
But
Yeah.
I think Tiff is questioning like the official statistic of it.
That's what I got that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know under what, like, why and like where, like, why. I'm just curious. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Are
probably.
they underestimating? Is that what she's implying? Because they don't.
I think
want
she
to
thinks they're overestimating. That's my
Yeah.
intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay.
my
I don't-
intuition too.
Billion,
But
8 billion?
but you know what? But they, I mean, we know in the United States we do census. You know, we take. You know, we actually have people walking around taking counts of how many people are. There's 349 million people in the U.S. It's close to 350 million. And you know, other countries they have birth records and there's statisticians who look at that stuff. I've checked the different websites about the population numbers and medical match. I don't understand what medical match means.
No, she says.
Reddit people question it. Well,
Okay,
it's
so what
Reddit
I'm
though.
wondering-
That's just a social media platform. It doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I went to the UN thing, and the UN says there's disagreement about the exact number. It varies depending on what country you ask what the total world population is, but
it's
safest
in the same
estimate,
range.
Yeah, is
Right.
about 8 million.
Right, 8 billion. 8 billion.
Yeah, what did I say? Billion.
Million.
You know.
That would be the size of New York. Not even actually. New York is much twice
Yeah,
that
you know,
big.
I don't live in New
But yeah.
York either.
Yeah.
It's too many people.
But you know,
No, but-
even if it's 4 billion or 3 billion, I mean, I remember that 2 billion number, and that to me
Yeah.
was mind-boggling.
Yeah, I
Mind-boggling.
can't
Yeah.
fathom it.
Because you
Yeah.
think about, you know, what are it's what you know, some of these politicians that talk, you know, that are extreme, like pro-birth. I don't think they're necessarily pro-life, but pro-birth politicians. You know, they're like, oh, well, look at how big Texas is. You could put like, you know,
Another
20
100 million
more
people in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
so
thing is, it's
ignorant.
just so
Oh my
ridiculous
God.
because
It
the
is
aquifer
ridiculous.
under there is drying up. You need to have resources. And I
Yeah.
think
Right.
that what this study is saying too is that you need to have space. It's like my shirt.
Yeah.
This is from the Great Very Large Array. It says, I need my space.
I
We
saw
all
that. I
need
love
our
that.
space.
Yeah,
And,
we do. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you just can't keep packing. And even if
Yeah,
you
we're
do
not
have
sardines.
the resources,
We're
but
humans.
you're trapped
Yeah.
and can't move around, it doesn't
Right.
work.
And also there's just only so many resources Earth has to support us. But I mean, even if you were to say, I mean, how much off is it? I mean, it's probably
even if it was half, if it was 4 billion.
I'm sure it's not even
that's-
close to half.
but
I mean,
that's
probably
still
the
too
estimations
much.
are probably, is it
Right.
7.9
That's my
or
view.
is it 8.4 or
Yeah.
8.5? It's
But
in that.
even let's be generous and say it's only half of what they're telling us. They're overestimating.
It's still
to
too
scare
much.
us. That's still way too much. You know, it's ridiculously too much. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, this place.
But
this-
I do agree,
well,
Tiff. It's when it comes out of our government, it's hard
You
to
can't
believe
trust-
anything they say.
It's not coming from our government, though. This is world. This is a world organization that tracks
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah,
that
my God,
tracks
you were-
Tiff
birth.
doesn't trust the UN either.
Yeah, but
Well,
if you- if
okay.
it's
I mean,
only
this is
enough-
this is actually like tracking births. How many people were born today so far? And it goes up and going up every second. 310, 783, 786, 789, 99, 192, 31, 95, and then it's tracking deaths. And then it's tracking deaths. 146,460. So there's far more people being born, twice as many as there are people dying. And that's, and I mean, last time I looked at how many people were on the planet, it was 8 billion. Yep. That was probably a couple of years ago. Now it's 8.3 and counting. By the second, it's going up so fast you can't even see the numbers moving, really. I mean, births this year. So this is like, I mean, you can question it, but if you've ever been to a place like India or something like that, I don't think you'd question it. I mean, if you see pictures of people
you don't have to go to India, go to downtown LA.
Or go to a big city. I mean, you cannot believe the masses of people that are on this planet. And it's just unfathomable how many people there are, because we do live in our monkey spheres. We have 150 people that we know, and we love them, and we care about them, and we think about them, and we have, we pray for them, and we worry about them. But there are all these people having those same experiences with a completely different set of people, that don't intersect at all with us.
I think about those things as I'm going to sleep, or sometimes it's like mind blowing to me. But
it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Yeah, it really is.
It's like this place. It's really podcast to listen to, Deborah. You can't be wasting your brain cells.
I have to tell you, sometimes
interesting.
I sit there sometimes, like if you ever go to the mall, which I don't really do anymore that much, but if you're ever in a public space watching people.
I love
I like to kind of read, just kind of feel into people what they're doing. But you just think, oh my God, this person, they have this whole world in which they are the center of their whole world, which is, that's normal. And they have all these people surrounding them. And what's their life like? What's their experience? And you take this and put it by 8 billion people. That's a lot of people. And it's too much to even.
It's a lot of issues.
You can't even. And that's why I think if we've got 8.3 billion people on the planet right now, and even if you don't believe that, say we know for a pretty good fact based. I mean, I know that actually the population of the US has been about 350 million, give or take, for a long time. That's been a pretty, we haven't grown that much actually. Like even when in the 80s, it was close to that. And it's been pretty stable at that level, which is, I think, part of why all these crazy Christians want to have lots of babies or whatever. But that's a lot of people. 300. If you've ever been to Los Angeles or New York, you go to New York. I think there's like 16 million people all in the whole metropolitan area. 16 million. That is a tiny fraction of 300. Yes. I mean, I grew up in Chicago. And there's just like endless seas of people. If you ever go to like like I remember the bicentennial in Chicago was terrifying, because you go out into the street and there was just people, like a wall of people, that it was scary. It was like you get in there and there's people you're just pushing. I mean, you could easily get trampled.
It's dangerous.
It's so dangerous. It's so scary.
About when people do the No Kings March, fine, more power to you if you want to do it. But you just watch these media people and they're like, look at this crowd. And you see just this mass of people.
Right, it's like ants. Yeah.
Like filling it's, I have to be honest, one of the things that turned me off about the New Age. It's like all this thing was, we are one. And I think it just hit me wrong, because I was on one of these thought experiments about how many people there are and how weird it is, and how each one has and then I'm like, we are one. Look at that. It is incomprehensible to me. When you really think about it.
We might be one. Do you really want to be one with them?
Or eating their parasites on your lettuce so you get explosive diarrhea. It's
gross.
Always had trouble with that. I mean, I can see we are one maybe in focus and intent, but that's, to me, kind of unrealistic.
Or we're one in a morphic resonance way, like we're all connected as like a species, but but you know,
But I
enough
don't believe
to-
we are in other ways. Like
No,
it's
no,
intended,
no,
like
I
the
agree.
New Age. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, I always think that's interesting, like that whole thing of people's spiritual belief. Okay, so you know, a lot of spiritual principles, especially in the New Age, but in other religions too, it's like the idea is to get into oneness and then you basically ascend into oneness with the Godhead. Okay. But then why did you come here to begin with? Why
Yes.
did you come into individuality? And I think that this is something that really I think is problematic in a lot of traditions. It's like, I do believe that it's kind of a combination of both. I mean, if the Godhead didn't want to splinter itself into a billion, trillion, quadrillion, you know, to have different experiences,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be here. It could have just stayed whole as one thing.
Yeah.
It didn't have to do this. So
That
there
has
has to be
always
a purpose.
been my argument. It always has been.
Well,
You know, I can't tell you how
believe
many
that-
things I've had that. Huh?
Well-
Hermeticists believe that the source sends us out to experience and bring back the information, and which is, you know, a basic explanation. But
Yeah, no, that is my belief. I believe that we are here
Yeah.
to not just to individuate and to really kind of learn things from a
Yes,
very
and then-
unique perspective and bring it back, and then keep doing it and just keep evolving in our own little crystalline kind of
Yes.
way.
But it's
Because
it's
to
a
deny
weird
that-
parallel. It's a
We
weird
add a piece to
parallel
it.
with the idea of plasma rivers, flowing plasma back and forth, right? So I've been reading all afternoon because I had nothing better to do with my time, quantum entanglement. And it was talking about souls. Are souls connected with quantum entanglement? Well, yes, because they're energy, you know, and all energy is
Sure.
So when one person in the world is hurt, we all feel that effect on to some degree. We are all entangled. We are all responsible for each other, but it doesn't have to be physical.
But you know what though, that is not really true though either. And that's something that does bother me. Okay, so what you're talking about is kind of like not in the theoretical sense. We are all entangled, right? But one of the things that really upsets me about human beings is, like, for example, I was working at a Chinese restaurant when I was in like 15, 16, 17
Yeah, I'd
years
be
old.
upset about that too.
No, it was great. They were really nice. And at one point, a man had a heart attack in the middle of the restaurant. Okay. And he's having a heart attack. All right. And, you know, I think, you know, we called the ambulance for him. I'm really upset. I'm thinking, oh my God, this poor guy and his family and blah, blah, blah. And everybody else in the restaurant, they see it, they watch it, and then they just go back to eating and they talk and they acted as if nothing had happened.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Identification with the material world. They haven't made that realization. That's all.
well, they don't care. And I think, and I think
Yes.
that the thing was, I think that the thing to me that was really, you know, crystallized in my mind was just how separated people make themselves from each other. That's not my problem. How many times did I hear that fucking
Yeah.
old nugget? Like, you know, well, what about the starving kids? That's not my problem. That's not my reality. You know, it's like, but it is.
Oh, you
it
hear
is.
on the
Yes.
street all the time when the good liars, you know, when they interview people on the street at
Uh-huh.
rallies and stuff, people will say, well, you know, as long as my family and my friends are okay, I'm good with what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
an
mind-boggling.
An unevolved soul. That is somebody whose back is turned to the source, who's looking and identifying with the material egoistic.
Yeah, but that's
world.
most people, though, Helen. And so this, going back to what we're talking about,
Don't depress
is
me.
no, it is. And I mean, I remember another instance when I was in a band, and this guy, the drummer, who was much older than us. I was like a teenager, and he was in his mid-20s, working as a psychiatric nurse. Okay, and he would play with us, you know, after work. And I was watching, like, you know, a commercial, like Give to the Children or something. Oh, I'm like, oh, I want to like try to find a way to give some money to that. You think you can save the world? You think that's going to make a difference? You can't change the world. Nobody can change the world. It was this whole diatribe about how you have no power. Nobody has any power. and everybody's, and this is just their fucking problem, not your problem. Why do you care about that? And I was like, that is a refrain I heard over and over and over and over and over and over again. I don't believe that's true at all. I know that's not true. But the fact that the majority of people believe that is the part of the problem we have right now, I think,
Yes.
Do you
It's
think
part
it's
of the
a
problem.
majority? I'm not sure.
I
that
do think it's a majority. I do. I absolutely do. 100%.
Okay, let's get some comments here before they disappear.
Okay.
So Tiffany, I went down a similar rabbit hole. There's evidence that once a level of prosperity is reached, birth rates plummet, in direct contrast to Ehrlich in the 1970s. Yes, and that's Universe 25, basically.
Right,
in a
right.
nutshell.
Yeah.
So Tiff says, I wish I could remember, but again, why are we trusting those effing lying
I don't trust
institutions?
anybody. I just try to get a parking space. I know there's too many people in the world.
Well, I understand where you're coming from,
Tiff is
Tiffany.
agreeing with, yes.
I agree that, I think you're in that space because everything that is happening right now, everything that we're hearing from our institutions or what were our institutions, it's just like babbling bullshit. It's just total, complete lie after lie after lie after lie. And it just shuts you down to everything. And I totally get that. But I think nobody knows 100% of anything, but I think there are reliable data points, that you have to look at. And one of them being population before we have this regime.
Yes.
These data points were already out there and they have been tracked I've been tracking them since the 1980s. This is not really like anything new or different, or this is kind of makes sense statistically and in terms of mathematically. So it's like, you don't have to believe what an organization says, but we do know, just like, even if you just think about it in terms of, going around the world. I mean, I've traveled around the world to a lot of places, not everywhere, but I've been to a lot of places. And I just seen there's a shit ton of people out there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think that's a valid question. And I think the answer would be that you can't rely on one large institution, but you have to remember that statisticians who are not connected to any,
they're not institutional. Yeah.
They can tell from things like how many new cars were sold this year, how many pounds of fertilizer were used to do the fields. Use of water, use of resources, the number of people registered in colleges. They can extrapolate mathematically.
Yeah, that's right. Mathematical. There's mathematical formulations for that. And even just for population growth, like over arcs of long periods of history, you can see how many people average, like how many a woman will have, so many children. Used to be 2.5 when I was a kid. I think it's gone down to like 1.5 or something like that, or
it might be even lower than that. Yeah.
It might be lower than that. But then you just plug in the math into statistics and you can figure out, even if you didn't have all the data, you could do that. And just by doing surveys and like basic, actual science, you could figure it out pretty close to the number.
Yeah. And people that do statistics don't really have, they
don't care.
An agenda.
No, they don't care.
They're more interested in it.
They're math nerds. They're math nerds.
Gary's like that. It's like neither right nor left. They're just kind of like they love the statistic. Okay, so speaking of space, Joyce says, I heard that schizophrenia didn't come into being until people started living in close quarters. I didn't know
I have
that.
a theory about that. What's
your theory?
I think schizophrenia. Okay. I believe that schizophrenia is more of a spiritual disorder than it is even psychological. They can't find actual. There's no real cause in terms of genetics. They don't know why, but I think it is. And I think the reason we see it in modern culture where we didn't in ancient cultures or earlier cultures is because back in the day, if you were starting to wake up psychically, your third eye is opening up, because schizophrenics are psychotically psychic. Okay. Like a broken filter is what they really are. Okay. So what would have happened was you would have been trained. You would have been taken at 13, 12, 13. You would have gone through the whole, initiation process. You would have learned to understand the voices. You would be able to understand like the spiritual significance of the things you're getting. You would have been grounded in some kind of tradition like that, and you would have a place to put that. But as we became like through the Enlightenment and the idea of people having some kind of divine connection was severed, those people were seen as crazy, and they were marginalized and shut down and made to feel like and nobody knew how to deal with them. And so they just became more and more blown out and more unmoored from reality because they couldn't shut it off. They had no techniques. They had no, you got to think about all the mystery, all the things that are in the new age right now. And even like the sort of post kind of like all of the stuff that was mystery tradition stuff was really, really buried until the 20th century. It really was. And people didn't really, all those wisdom traditions were really underground. And like, if you were Native even, you're not going to tell a white person about shamanism. Right. You would never have told them about that. And, you didn't teach any of the stuff that started kind of happening after the spiritualist kind of revolution in the late 19th century and into the 20th century, which became like the Golden Dawn and the rebirth of a lot of this wisdom tradition stuff, which can kind of help people to deal with that awakening that they go through. But if you have no place to put that, you go crazy. And I think that's what's really going on with schizophrenia.
Right.
That's my theory about it.
Back when I lived in Phoenix, I had written a story. I don't know what happened to it, but it was called Angels Unaware. And so when I would go out for my smoke breaks, there were so many like homeless, kind of schizophrenic kind of people.
Oh, yeah.
In Phoenix, after Reagan kind of shut everything down and they were all thrown in the streets. So I started like visualizing like lights, not like affecting them, but just to see, because that was my theory too, was that they were waking up and probably were way more psychic than people gave them credit for. So I'd like visualize like lights bouncing down the road, and without exception, every single one could see it, and they would start chasing it or even trying to touch it.
I'm telling you, I have schizophrenics in my family. Okay. My grandmother and my cousin. And my cousin, probably because he did a lot of drugs, and also was psychic. But the psychic thing and the schizophrenic thing are kind of like right there. And I think, depending on your personality, whether you can pull yourself back from the precipice or not, I think it's the same thing. I can't tell you. I personally had the experience, and my sister had the experience. My friend Mary has had the experience where you're in next to someone who's total stranger to you, schizophrenic, who just starts talking about everything. Like they know you for 1,000 years, and they know everything about you, and they know everything, the names of all your family members. They know, what book you're reading. And that they're blown open. Their filters are gone. And that's what it is. Yeah. And they have no way to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, they locked them all up in insane asylums. And then when somebody like Giordano Bruno's, he was burned at the stake.
At the stake.
But not because of heliocentric theories, because he was espousing what's essentially Gnosticism.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Heresy.
That's right.
Okay, let's get through some more comments because we're almost at 2 hours here, and I have some.
Yeah, we are. We can't help it. We're so talking.
Yes, it's fun. Well, as long as you guys are okay with it, I am. But I just want to get these because the thing scrolls down and I can't find it. Okay, so Tiff says, who are having all these children the last couple of years? No one's having babies. The immigration is causing wars.
What about India or China?
Yes, India.
If you have 4 billion people, like 2 and whatever, how many Chinese, there was 4 billion people. I don't know if they have that many. I think they've been declining, but say you have 3 billion people in your population. All you have to do is have 1.5 babies per woman, and you got 5 billion people within you know what I'm saying? A very short period of time.
I don't know why I just saw that as a bunch of mice running around, but it's like,
You know who's having all those babies? The Christian right wing.
Oh
We
yeah,
have
man, we
schools.
have like, here in this weird area,
Holy,
tons of people with 10 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids. I mean, that's,
hey,
Well,
you
what's
would not
that
watch-
believe
say
it.
about
You
5
watch
kids?
some
Yeah.
of their sermons or read them. I mean, I was doing that a lot. Like 20 years ago, I would like actually listen to the sermons and write about them. But that is a thing. That's like how they will take over the world. Just have
Yeah, that is.
Quiverful.
That's part of their thing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a word for it. I
So-
can't remember it, but yeah.
Quiverful.
Quiverful.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. So Tiff says, I have always watched people. There's something there, I know. But besides that, people have changed. Crazy and self-absorbed.
I
I
agree
think,
with
Tiff,
that.
Those are the beautiful ones.
Those
I
are
think
the
that's a
beautiful
part of
ones.
it.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So when
I do
people
think she's
don't
right though.
care-
There are statistics even like really identifying the rise of narcissism like that
Yeah.
as a major trait, over the last 30
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yes. So when people don't care about their global brothers and sisters, I can't stand to talk to them.
I know.
I agree with
know.
that. I'm the same way.
Let
I
me
agree with
tell
that.
you something, Joy. I'm an immigrant, but I don't look like an immigrant, and I don't.
You do to
sound-
me, just kidding.
I glow in the dark.
You
Does
look
that
very
matter?
Irish. Yeah.
But people say things about immigrant. Well, this is like before all this stuff really broke out. People would say things in front of me. They'd have conversations what they really thought about immigrants, not realizing I was one. Because I'm
Right,
not
right.
dark, right? So I'd let them just talk. Go ahead, talk. And when they were all done, I'd break into, well, I'm an immigrant.
That's great.
And then they'd backpedal. They'd be trying to backpedal. They know. People know that they're being racist and appalling.
Yes, they are. They are.
Yeah.
They know that. That's why, I think like this whole thing with the T, Mr. T, he just basically opened all he just opened all the bridges where all the trolls were hiding and they all came out. He's just given license to people to be as evil and narcissistic as they possibly can. I know I used that because, but yeah, Mr. T, he's just not the good Mr. T, the bad Mr. T. Yeah, he's just given everybody license to just be completely misogynistic, racist, horrible and homophobic and be able to talk about it publicly like it was back in the 70s or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Earlier. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys something? I want your opinion about something. It's about synchronicity. I found something out today that I had never heard before. I'm going to trust that it's true. I'm going to research, but I think it's probably true. When Nikola Tesla died, they found his body. He died in the middle of the night. This is the official story. He lived in rundown hotels, and then he'd moved to another one. He never paid his bill. Ran out of money. So he died in a room full of all of his research, all of it.
Right. I heard that. Mm-hmm.
Within 2 hours, the FBI showed up.
I heard this.
Confiscated all of it.
I heard
all
that
of his
too.
research.
But here's the part that blew my mind. Talk about your synchronicity. They got a guy to investigate the actual science on all these documents, to go through every single one. They got a professor from MIT. Guess who it was? John Trump.
No.
Really?
Honest-
I didn't know
I heard
that.
I heard that guy, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true either, that he actually wasn't even a professor at MIT.
That's I had heard that too. Yeah.
I heard that that was not
Okay,
accurate.
Well, let's see.
So I heard that was just like one of the confabulation points,
Well, like I said, I didn't research it. I just read it.
Right.
Today.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right because Tesla would have died well before that would have been possible. Because I think he died in the 20s or 30s.
Well, here we go. Listen to this. The connection between him centers around the U.S. government's decision to investigate his connections because he had a nephew in Yugoslavia. They were worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the government called on John G. Trump, a highly esteemed electrical engineer and a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. After a thorough investigation, he concluded that Tesla's work from his later years was primarily speculative. He went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, by the way. Who was John Trump? Scientist, inventor, paternal uncle of you-know-who, celebrated in the scientific community for his pioneering work in high voltage engineering. Radiation and the development of rotational X-ray generators used in cancer treatment.
Okay.
It's true.
So it's true. Okay, because I always heard that
Excellent. Good.
that was sad, but it wasn't true.
But it begs the question, why him?
Well, also you kind of wonder, I mean, did he just get called in? I mean, because you got to imagine, like Tesla died a long time ago. And I mean, I guess was Trump's uncle born in like the early.
No, he didn't die that long ago. He died just at the end of the 30s, the beginning of the 40s.
Yeah, in the 30s, right? But
Yeah.
Trump was born in the 40s, though, right? I mean,
It's
late 40s, early, almost
Yeah,
1950.
He died in 1943.
Okay.
And so let's investigate this. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Well, you know, if I did something famous, it would have no reflection at all on my nieces or nephews. They have
Yeah,
nothing
right.
to
I
do
mean,
with
my
it.
dad was
So,
my dad was in
Yeah.
the he works in the whatever, you know.
He was born in 1907. It's entirely possible.
Okay, yeah, my dad was that's what year my grandma was born. But yeah, my dad worked on he knew Oppenheimer. He worked on the Manhattan Project. Does that mean that I'm somehow now a genius because my
I
dad
remember
was
you saying,
You gotta
a
check
mathematical
this out, you
genius? I
guys.
mean,
I'll
no.
tell you that genetic
Exactly.
thing. That genetic thing is real.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, there are smart people in families. I mean, that doesn't mean you're smart just because you have a smart uncle or a smart, I mean, dad even. I mean, I've known some very, very, very smart people that have very dumb kids and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Some very dumb parents who have
Only
really
to
brilliant
know.
kids. You know? I mean, it doesn't always work like that. Anyway, yeah.
Epigenetics.
You never know what your lottery number you're going to get, you know.
That's right.
Starfish story. I don't know what that
I
is.
knew that would just blow your minds. I couldn't believe it. I just thought
That's
oh
a
my
pretty
God.
kooky thing.
Talk about it's a small world.
We
Oh,
lost Deborah to
Deborah's
to
gone
the
to
black
Venus.
hole. Yeah, she's gone. She's been sucked into the black hole.
Oh, we may have broken her with that information.
What?
I said we may have broken her with that information.
Broken the internet.
She spun off into the cosmos.
She's woo, I need some space. There she's gone. She's full on gone. Should we just
so
call
rude
it?
when
Oh,
you
here
know
she comes back.
my
Oh,
internet,
there you
my
are.
internet crashed. Okay,
I
let's
know.
go
Hostess
to
leaves the
again.
party.
No, we've got a big lightning storm going on right now. So
Yeah,
let me kind of
yeah.
get through the comments here.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, for some reason when it storms, our internet has trouble.
Same with us.
Okay. So Jorinda, have you seen what's happening in Italy? They're doing rolling strikes. It's having an impact, and we are not seeing it on our news.
Wow. I have
No, I have
haven't
not
heard
seen
about
that.
I
Thank
haven't
you for
either.
that
Look
lead.
up. Yeah.
We'll look for
There's an
that.
awful lot that doesn't get on our news.
Almost everything important.
Okay.
Also
Also,
time.
plenty of tyrants have changed the world. Napoleon, Hitler, Stalin, etc. So Denise, he was wrong. Who was wrong?
Who is wrong? I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about.
I don't
So
know
Denise,
either.
he was wrong. Oh, I see. Oh, back to the whole thing of one person can't change the world. I get it. Yes,
okay.
I got it. Yes.
All right.
Well, you know,
Yeah, because it
Tiffany,
kind
they're
of
not
fell
I agree.
telling
behind.
us the truth.
Right.
Okay, so that makes me feel better, Helen, yet I still struggle with what facts and statistics are allowed to be put into
And
the
And it's
public.
good that you.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Tiffany. I understand.
It's better to be skeptical than it is to be.
I agree
gullible.
than to believe everything you hear. I think there, yeah.
But
I
you
agree
don't
with
want to
that.
go down the conspiracy rabbit hole either. Although
But yeah,
sometimes
then you can just
it's a
get
legitimate trip.
it's a really hard balance to find.
Very
like,
difficult.
yeah, it really is.
A perfect example is QAnon, because a lot of things QAnon believes, there's
Well,
a
true.
kernel of truth. to
There's
some of it.
always a kernel of truth in the best conspiracy theories. That's the thing. Jordan, yes, that is so important. And Americans are not aware. This needs
Do you
to go
guys
mainstream.
remember me with a piece of paper?
Yeah.
It is completely gone right now. Remember
well,
we
you
were
took it
talking
with
last
you.
week about
You took it with you when you went down that cosmic rabbit
Yeah, you
hole.
did. You went down the rabbit hole and then you came back without it.
Are you
yeah,
sitting
and
on-
now it's gone.
are you
That's so
sitting-
weird.
No, I
No?
did. It's completely gone. I looked at it. It's totally gone.
It's in another
Wow.
Whatever.
Maybe it'll
Okay, that
reappear
was-
later.
Well, it'll reappear. And it was with this other piece, but it's not under that. I have
You'll
no
find
idea.
it in your
That is
freezer
just so weird.
or your microwave
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
think
right,
I'm
or your
gonna
freezer.
find another thing. So, okay. So, Tiffany says, yes, this is so important and Americans are not aware. This needs to go mainstream.
So look
I don't
into
know
that.
what.
Yeah, I think she's
It's
talking
really
about the Italian
helpful.
thing.
The Italian thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really helpful to get information
Hey, Laura Mark.
from Europe. I have apps
Yes.
for BBC and the Guardian and the
Yes.
Irish
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah. It's such a different perspective, and it's
like
so
a
much
different
more.
planet.
It is a different planet.
I did
Yeah,
have
so-
Canadian, but they wanted me to pay money, and I don't do that.
Yeah. No. So I think she's
So I
talking
think Laura
about
Mar is talking about the Tesla thing.
the Donald Trump thing.
Because-
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I looked up.
I looked that
Tesla
up
died in the
recently.
40s.
Tesla-
Trump's uncle was very smart.
Yeah.
So there's one
Exactly.
good, smart one in the bunch there. Deborah Rage quits.
Rage quits.
Yeah, there
I
you
don't
go.
think
That's
so. I'm not
funny.
raged at all.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Because you got so
No, I
upset
went
about
to
Tesla.
Florida.
Fun out,
Joke.
Deborah. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I'll be
So now
calling
you get
Denise
sucked
for a
into it,
reading
Michael.
next week. Like, I was having the weirdest conversation with you guys and watched This Never Existed. I went through another thing with lightning and
Another dimension.
and disappearing. I'm serious.
You can't
it is so
expect me
weird.
to remember. I don't remember anything anymore. If it happened before yesterday, I'm not going to remember. So if you ask me next week, this never happened.
What is so weird about it is that I specifically printed it out this afternoon, knowing we'd have power problems, and I'd get knocked out, and now it's gone.
And you
It's
had
so
it in your
weird.
hand. I saw you messing
Yes,
around.
I
with
had it. And it was blowing with the fan, and it is very weird. Okay. So, and by the way, hi Darcy. Teresa
Yeah, hey,
says,
Darcy,
"Thanks,
yeah,
Ellen.
it's
I
good to
never
see you."
knew that. Well, cool. Well,
Yeah,
I can't
neither
ask
do
you
I.
guys. I can't ask you guys the last. I had questions for you if you think you're a beautiful person. So I'll let you ponder on that, and we'll discuss
God, you
it
have to ask.
next time.
Am I a beautiful person?
Why
Probably
would you
not.
even have to ask, Denise? Don't you
So
have
what do you
eyeballs?
think? Do you fit? I think I'm kind of 50-50 in it because there's a part of me that is kind of sick of it and has dropped out, and I don't really participate.
No.
That I'm real choosy about who I spend my energy with. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I
But
am
you're
too. But that's
doing
not the
it,
same.
though.
Yeah, but that's not the
Yeah.
same thing, I think. I think the beautiful people are the kids nowadays who are just like they
Yeah.
see how overwhelming the trap is. They see that there's no real way out and there's nothing they can do, and they're kind of depressed, and they're just sort of like they're just entertaining themselves in the moment because they can't think about all the other things. I think
Yeah.
I would say that's what's going on.
And
with the
it's all the
kids.
influencers that are collecting rooms full of hair lotion, facial stuff. And no, you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. That have taken that identification with the unmeaningful to the nth degree.
Well, that's, I think, the only other way that the young people are being sort of trained to fill themselves up. I was just talking about this with my husband last night. It's like when I was growing up and you were, integrity meant something. People didn't really like capitalism
Yeah.
or they were really grossed out by well, I would never, if I was a musician, I'd never put my song in a
Yes.
cheesy commercial. Now the whole thing is how can I turn myself into a product so you become the product. People talk about this is my brand, and all this crap, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck? Your brand, I'm a brand. It's like
I
you
just
are a
recently heard
commodity
that. I didn't
now.
know
Yes.
what they meant.
It's like everybody's commodified themselves, and we're in this weird economic sort of cannibalistic
Hellhole.
economy where everything is about who you are, your creativity, what you say, blah, blah, blah. And it's turned, and people are turning into, that they're a corporation or something or a brand. They're not a person. It's very twisted.
Yes.
And it's and that's the other choice that the young people have. Are you going to exploit yourself as a resource to be used by, these people who, the wealthy corporatists who are data mining, and so you're going to kind of get one up on them and use it to your advantage, or are you going to just check out? And I think that's kind of where they're at. I think that you see the schism between the kids that are just like, I can't do that. I don't want to participate in that. So I'm just going to like play video games or watch stuff on YouTube because I don't want to be in that. And really, that's frankly, for a lot of those young people, that's their only way economically. And because that is our economy, it's an information economy. It's not really like we don't make stuff and sell stuff and do things.
Yeah.
It's a really messed up situation that we're in.
What I've noticed,
especially for the young people.
If you express a resistance to that whole structure, if you put out any kind of information that challenges our screwed up values, people freak out. They feel so undermined. I think it's so threatening.
Well, I think it's also that they feel like they have no choice, so they have to embrace it and make the best of it. And that's sad. That's a sad situation right there.
Yeah.
They don't have any choice. So they're
Darcy,
trying to see it.
Darcy,
believe it or not, so am I.
Yeah, I remember those days. Exactly. You sold out, you go commercial. Now, if you don't have the brand, you're a moron. Like you're just like an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know how to work it. You know what I'm saying? So it's totally flipped.
Yeah.
The paradigm is flipped completely.
It
It's a
really
weird
has.
thing to witness. Yeah.
So do you guys think my theory that these science things are playing into what's going on in our society?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You know,
100%.
we are human organisms, we're
Yeah,
physical
for sure.
animals. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just found it so interesting, the parallels that are happening. It's just fascinating to me.
It is
to see
really,
that.
it's really interesting. I have to
It's
look into that.
scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
Universe 25.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Reminds
know.
me song Waiting
Waiting
on the World to Change by John Mayer.
I don't know that song.
All right.
What is
Well, we're over 2 hours and my bladder
Yes.
is about
I know I have
just
to go
erupt
pee
here.
myself. Let's be real.
So, this
I'm
was so
old.
much fun. Okay. You guys
This
all
is
want
what
to do
happens when you try to have a conversation with cranky old ladies.
Yes, they have to go pee.
No, we just kept. Well, I had to even in my 20s and teens. It's like water just goes right through you. It's like.
You
But,
don't want me to go into it.
Yeah. No, I know why you.
So you
have-
guys want to
yes.
do a live? Do you want to go live again next week?
Why
I
not?
hope I am.
Okay. So,
You'll be
I'm
here.
thinking about pulling maybe more disclosure stuff, or I might have some more weird stuff show up in the algorithms, and we'll
sounds
talk
good.
about it.
You'll
We'll
be
just see
glad.
where it goes.
You'll be
Yeah,
glad
yeah.
something-
You don't really have to.
Yeah.
You know what? I would say for you, Deborah, don't even worry about preparing that much
No.
because we can just freaking riff on anything, and we
Oh,
all
you're
seem to
kidding
know what
me?
we're going to talk
Yep.
about beforehand anyway. So like
That's
we're all psychically synced, so it's fine.
It'll
Good.
present itself. It'll
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it'll work
Well,
out.
It definitely will. Well,
Yeah.
this was fun, but sorry I disappeared on you guys.
It's
I'll be
okay.
back when I find
We
my
had fun.
paper. It's like,
You know what? We had fun talking about you disappearing into a black hole, how you need your space, all that. stuff.
just
Thank
try not
you,
to have your
Teresa.
PT friends land on the roof while we're recording, and it'll all be good.
There you go. Well, this was so much fun. I
Okay.
want to thank you guys. Thank you all
Yeah, it was
in
really
the
fun.
audience.
It's
We'll
good to
see you
see
soon.
everybody here. Thank you
All
guys
right.
for coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you all
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Love you
Good
guys.
night.
All right. Good night. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us. We feature a live show on the first Wednesday of each month and premieres on the remaining Wednesdays. Got a story? Tell us on our message line at 928-288-2942. See you next time.